are most effective as a counterattack. Later in the DVD, I will demonstrate how to string various punches together to form combinations, as well as show you how to use the various punches to counter your opponent's attacks. But in the beginning, it is best to focus on form and learn the function of each strike. The straight jab is one of the most important punches in mixed martial arts competition. It can be used to set up kicks, takedowns, and power punches. It can be used to close the distance between you and your opponent and establish a clinch. It's a phenomenal counterpunch, and it's also a phenomenal tool for preventing your opponent from bull rushing into your comfort zone. And unlike boxing, you can cause a healthy amount of damage with a single jab due to the small gloves worn by MMA combatants. If your goal is to have dangerous hands, I strongly suggest spending an ample amount of time developing this highly versatile punch and then exploring its various uses. In this sequence, I demonstrate how to throw a straight jab from your stance, but it is important to mention that it can also be coupled with a step forward, a step backward, or even a sidestep to achieve a variety of goals. To throw the jab, I do several things in succession. 1. I keep my right hand glued to the side of my face. 2. I drive my left shoulder upward to protect the left side of my jaw. 3. I drive off my rear foot to generate more power behind the strike. 4. I extend my left arm straight out, rotating my fist so that the palm is facing the mat. 5. When I strike my target, I do so with the first 2 knuckles of my left hand. The straight cross is one of the most feared weapons in mixed martial arts competition. When a competitor has mastered this strike, you'll often hear the commentators making such remarks as, if he connects with his straight cross, the fight will be over. Landing a powerful cross to one of your opponent's vulnerable areas causes damage, plain and simple. But developing speed, power, and accuracy in your crosses doesn't happen overnight. It also takes a considerable amount of time to learn how to properly set up your crosses. In this sequence, I demonstrate the traditional right cross. In this version, the cross is thrown directly from your stance and is best utilized when you're already within striking distance of your opponent. To throw the cross from my orthodox stance, I rotate my hips in a counterclockwise direction, come up onto the ball of my right foot, and throw my right fist straight out. As my fist nears its target, I turn my hand over so that my palm is facing the mat. Just as with the jab, I connect with the first 2 knuckles of my hand. When thrown correctly, the lead hook can be a very powerful punch, and because it approaches your target from the side rather than from straight on, it can also be a very difficult punch for your opponent to evade. Unlike straight punches, which can be slipped, the only way to avoid a hook is to move out of the way or duck underneath of the punch, neither of which are easy to manage. Your opponent always has the option of blocking your lead hook with his arm, but it's not a very reliable option. Due to the small gloves worn in MMA and the circular path of the strike, your fist will often slip past his arm and connect with the side of his face. In this sequence, I demonstrate how to throw a standard lead hook, which is best employed when you're roughly an arm's length away from your opponent. To execute this punch, I do several things in succession. 1. Keep my right hand glued to the right side of my face for protection. 2. Rotate my hips and shoulders in a clockwise direction. 3. Extend my left arm outward along a circular path. 4. Pivot on the ball of my left foot and rotate my fist so that my palm is facing the mat. 5. Strike my target with the knuckles of my index and middle fingers. In this sequence, I demonstrate how to throw a mid-range lead hook. It is thrown exactly the same as the long-range hook, except instead of elongating your striking arm forward as you throw the hook, you put more of a bend into your arm. If you look at my footwork, you'll notice that with some of the hooks, I pivot my lead foot as I did when throwing the long-range hook, and others, I keep my lead foot planted on the mat. This is a matter of preference. Pivoting your lead foot allows you to deliver a more snappy punch, thereby causing more damage, but throwing a lead hook with your foot planted allows you to employ a more pushing punch, which proves useful to off-balance your opponent and push him into a follow-up strike, such as a rear round kick. It is also important to notice that with some punches I turn my fist over so that my palm is facing the mat, and with others I keep my palm facing my body. Again, this is a matter of preference. To execute this technique, I do several things in succession. 1. I keep my right hand glued to the right side of my face for protection. 2. Rotate my hips and shoulders in a clockwise direction. 3. Extend my left arm outward along the circular path. 4. Pivot on the ball of my left foot and rotate my fist so that my palm is facing the mat. 5. Strike my target with the knuckles of my index and middle fingers. In this sequence, I demonstrate the close-range lead hook, which is best employed when in clinching range with your opponent. In order to land the strike, you must have an even bigger bend in your arm than when throwing the mid-range lead hook. Again, you do not want to wind your entire body up for the strike. Instead, you want to utilize a quick snapping motion that sends your lead fist into the side of your opponent's jaw. Due to range, I do not turn my fist over when throwing this punch. However, I still strike my target using the first 2 knuckles of my hand. Personally, I like to use the close-range hook to get my opponent to back up and then land a more definitive mid-range hook. There are 2 primary ways to throw a lead uppercut. The first is a lead standard uppercut, which involves throwing the punch directly from your stance. It doesn't pack that much power, but it's a quick and elusive strike. In this sequence, I demonstrate the lead power uppercut. Before throwing the punch in this version, execute a slip by rotating your body and dropping your level. It's not as stealthy, but it packs a lot of power and is an excellent technique for slipping and countering one of your opponent's straight punches. Due to the dynamics of this punch, it is best utilized when in close range and middle range with your opponent. To pull this technique off, I do several things sequentially. 1. Coming up onto the ball of my rear foot, I drop my lead shoulder to generate power for the punch. This moves my head away from my center line, which would allow me to avoid a straight punch directed at my face. 2. Pulling my right shoulder back, I whip my hips in a clockwise direction, rotate my hand so that my palm is facing me, and throw my fist upward. To protect my face, I keep my opposite hand up. 3. I continue to rotate my body in a clockwise direction until my fist collides with my target. If you miss your strike or are shadowboxing in the gym, your fist should not come up past eye level.